for ratepayers around the country, but more specifically for now, if you're a City of Johannesburg ratepayer, if you own a property of any kind, you've likely received a communication from COJ, the City of Joburg, regarding the valuation of your property. Now, the city gauges the value of your property to determine whether it can increase the rate that you are paying each month to own that property. Now, deadlines have been extended and residents have been urged to check and have the COJ amount reviewed. It's automatically done, I understand, but if you disagree, you can have it reviewed. However, the entire process seems to have been a little bit clumsy. Lots of complaints from various residents around the City of Johannesburg. Let's bring in Julius Kleynhans, who is the Executive Manager of Social Innovation Division at OUTA, joining us. And Julius, morning to you. And this is a very, very complicated story. Before we talk about the review process, could you just sum up for someone watching now, probably for me as well, exactly how this works? What's the idea here?
So what the city does is in every 4 to 5 years, they review on property valuations to adjust the property rates accordingly. So, if you think about it historically, we heard about the year-on-year compounding effect of property value, which increases. But that's not the case in the City of Johannesburg anymore. In fact, if you look at the trajectory of property value in the beginning of this year, it was decreasing. So I think it's a bit flawed, the method that they've been using. And then obviously when they promote to the public saying general valuation role, you've got 35 days or 80 days to comment, it just goes over people's heads. They don't know what that means. They don't know how to participate. And at the end of the day, in July, you get a very big surprise, seeing that your property rates hasn't gone up by the 2% they've said, but actually excessively because they valued your property for much higher than its market value. And they base it basically on a willing seller principle in July 2022.
Yeah, because this is going to have a number of knock-on effects. If your house is then valued at a lot more than you actually bought it for, that means your insurance is going to go up. It means your monthly rates and taxes are going to go up. And having heard from a couple of property experts on this, your house might be valued to a point, Julius, that no one's going to buy it in your area. There goes the whole willing seller, willing buyer concept as well. So it's important for residents to understand what the city is doing. How do they actually go about doing this? What are they looking for? Where do they get that? And what do they do if they disagree?
Yeah, look, it's supposed to be an independent valuation process where the city looks at area. So they don't look at a house per household, because there's over 940,000 households that's affected, the properties. So they have a helicopter view, and then they give a guesstimate basically on the area's market value. Some properties have gone up by 60%. It's incredible. It's insane. You will not get that property sold for that amount. In fact, people in this current market in the City of Johannesburg, where services are declining, infrastructure and all that stuff is deteriorating, will get less for their properties. So it's a very tight market. But yeah, the process of people objecting in the city's valuation process has already ended on the 5th of May. So what's happened now is we've basically asked the city, listen, there's over 40,000 people who have objected on the new property valuations. Now, if you see that it's fair, you don't have to object. That's fine. But if it's 60% more on your property value, and you know that, listen, this is not feasible, you've got the opportunity to object to the city and prove to them they are wrong, and they cannot adjust the value of your property and the rates according to their valuations. But what we've said is, you cannot, it's not fair and reasonable as the city to now increase property rates on the valuations until they have finalized and concluded these objections by property owners, because now the city expects them to pay this exorbitant increase, and then you can see the logistical nightmare that's coming when they have to start paying the residents the money back that's owed to them. So we think it's just a silly concept, and the city should actually freeze this 40,000 objections until they have resolved the whole process with the residents and charge them the accurate amount, instead of trying to now push forward and charge them this new the new rates, and then having to pay them back one day, and it just opens them up for fruitless litigation as well.
And also, it could be a lot of money for residents who might not have the money to pay these exorbitant rates and insurance. But I know from the private sector as well, it's going to push up insurance as well to try and then fight and get that money back. Julius, I'm going to start saying goodbye to you in a moment. So if someone is having an issue now, there's 3 points I want to make here. One, my understanding is if you don't object, if you don't go ahead and go through this process, then you're going to be liable for whatever the city values your property at, then you lose out. So you need to go and check that. With the objection process, just as a side note, I see on OUTA's website, you've put a link there if you want to object. I opened this link at 20 minutes after 6. It's objections.joburg.org.za. And it's 6:51, so half an hour later, I still can't get into this website. By the way, what does someone need to do if they're not getting it right, if they're not winning with COJ?
So the time frame of objections has lapsed. So you cannot object according to the city's valuation roll process anymore. But what I would like to recommend, folks, is if you haven't objected, you can still do a Section 78 objection. Now, this gets technical. So there's an organization called Rates Watch, and I'd encourage people to get in touch with them so you get proper professional valuers to help you through that legislative process, because it's not too late. There's still a different method that you can use, but now it's time to get professionals involved, unfortunately.
It certainly is. Julius, thank you very much indeed. Really just consumer information, so important for residents of Joburg. COJ is specifically for those who own properties. Julius Kleynhans, OUTA's Executive Manager for Social Innovation. By the way, if you just probably want an easier link, just go to the OUTA website. I was able to find the link there. It seems to be pretty straightforward from there if you can get onto the COJ website.